Welcome to another Fans Forum on a Monday night, live and exclusive on Arsenal Player. We call it the 90 minutes after the 90 minutes, but of course, strictly speaking, there wasn't a 90 minutes this international weekend. That didn't stop plenty of Arsenal players going off and thriving in foreign parts. Obviously, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Theo being involved in Moldova on Friday night, Abu Diaby on the score sheet for France, Santi Cazorla on the score sheet for Spain. Just send them home fit, will ya? I don't care where they're playing. Send them home fit, because we will need them come next Saturday. So, no game to look back on, but certainly a game to look forward to. It's Southampton back in the Premier League and arriving at the Emirates on Saturday. After what happened at Anfield last Saturday, you know, it is absolutely essential we do things right in 5 days' time, 6 days' time, whenever it is. To look forward to that game, to look back on the start we've made to the season so far, delighted to say we're joined for the first time this season by the excellent Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association and a fair few other publications besides. We are, though, looking to hear from you. 0207 607 3200 is the number you need to get through to the home of football this and every Monday night. 0207 607 3200. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal, and the hashtag you need for your messages is fansforum. We've got a little bit for you by way of added value. As always, competition, good prize this week. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bacary Sagna's training top from last season, which has found its way to us courtesy of those excellent people in Arsenal community. What a fantastic department they are. Anyway, Arsenal in the community have weighed us in with that. We will get it autographed by Bacary, and you can win it this evening on the Fans Forum. In the meantime, though, we're here to talk about anything you want, as long as it's the football. That's myself and Jim. As long as it's the Arsenal, it'll do for us. 0207 607 3200 will get you through. You can email us fansforum@arsenal.co.uk. And if you want to tweet, we are at Arsenal, and the hashtag you need for your messages is Fans Forum. Let's talk to Harvey, who's in Camberley. Harvey, welcome to the home of football.
Hi there, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, actually. I'm not sure I like these international weekends, mind.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long time to be honest.
2 weeks, just when they've got us started, it's not right. But what you got for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about Gervinho. I think he's improved so much from last season. Obviously, in pre-season, I think he was our best player. And I just wanted to talk about in the game. I thought it almost seems like whenever he gets slagged off for not performing well or something, I think sometimes I look at him and I think, well, when he plays out on the right, he's really quiet in the game, and I think he's a really one-sided player. And I think whenever he plays on the left-hand side, he's a much more impacted player. Now, I know Podolski plays on that side, and I don't know whether it would work, obviously, if they swap sides, but I just wanted to get your opinion, because I remember last season against, I think it was it Stoke, at home, he scored a goal and got 2 assists, and I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
And that was when he was playing on the left, and I just thought, I think he's a much more comfortable player playing out on the left, so I just wanted your opinion on that.
Yeah, what do you think, Jim? I mean, he is a talent, absolutely no question, but if Podolski's playing on the left and scoring, then he may struggle for a place.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gervinho, this could be the season where he's had one campaign, now settled into it. I think I agree with Harvey. He can be electric, can't he, when he's out there, beating the man, cutting inside. Maybe just the finished product is missing at the end. But he said that he feels he can step things up this season. He's happy wherever he fits into that front line. But if Podolski is, tends to sort of drift out there much more, and I don't really see Podolski as an out-and-out winger really either. It's a difficult balance, isn't it? Because you'd like to see Walcott one flank, Gervinho down the other, interchanging really and switching flanks, so the fullbacks don't really get settled on either of them. But certainly I think he can be a big asset. In fact, I'd like to see him and and Podolski in the same squad. Maybe Podolski moves a little bit more over into the middle.
The thing is, Harvey, I'm not sure we're going to see Podolski playing as an out-and-out centre forward unless we get, unless there's an injury to Giroud. So it is a case of. They are very different players, though. I mean, Podolski's much more direct, isn't he? He was fantastic. I thought Podolski was fantastic at Anfield, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was very brilliant. And obviously, when he's playing well like that on the left wing, you don't want to, outposition him. You want him to play in that kind of role. And I thought defensively he was brilliant at Anfield. He tracked back, and Gervinho is not really that sort of player. But I just thought, he's improved a lot, and I thought he kind of deserves his first team spot. But obviously, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, no, and you're right. And Gervinho's got something that certainly, that perhaps Theo Walcott, Lucas Podolski, he's got something that they don't, which is he's got a trick. In fact, he's got half a dozen of them, and you think back to, you think of games where, it's one thing at Anfield when a team's coming onto you and you're hitting them on the break and, Podolski can come up with combining with Cazorla like he did for the first goal. That's Podolski's game, absolutely. But then you think to home games where you've got 10 men behind the ball from the opponents, and Gervinho's the kind of fella who in a tight space can make something happen.
Yeah, that's true.
So we shall see. It's what we're after, isn't it? Competition for places. There is certainly competition out on the left, although, of course, Gervinho does have... he can be picked to play on the right. So you're absolutely right, Harvey. Left-hand side is his best position. But we'll see how the season pans out with that. But fair play for sticking up for the fella. Thanks very much indeed for the call. 0207 607 3200, the number. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal. If you want to tweet us, the hashtag you need for your messages is fansforum. Don't forget, we'll have that Bakary Sagna signed training top to be won later this evening as well. But Jim, sorry, introduce you. I didn't even give you a chance to draw a breath, mate. Great to have you with us. I know you've struggled through traffic at the devil's own end of Seven Sisters Road, but very good to have you with us. And it's a strange one, isn't it, where you come off the back of an afternoon like we had at Anfield, and all you want is the next game, and we've got this weird hiatus.
It's all about momentum, isn't it? Really, and Arsenal had, slowly, started to get going. What a fantastic performance! Team performance it was up there at Liverpool right the way through the whole squad. And yes, the next game really couldn't have come quick enough. But you've got this break now, and I think, as you said, the key thing is that all of the players come back fit and ready to go. And I think in a way, no disrespect to Southampton, but this could possibly, couldn't have asked for a better fixture, really. At home against a side who, you should really be able to get, a result at, and hopefully, he can maybe rotate some of the players. Because here Theo's a little bit under the weather, so there's maybe a doubt whether he'll be, back in contention, and how the other guys, globetrotting are going to be.
Yeah, Southampton, to be fair, have given Manchester United and Manchester City proper games so far this season. Yeah. So it's definitely not a case of just turning up on Saturday. No. I'd just be interested, actually. I'd be interested. I'll get it from you, Jim, in due course. But just like to know, you have that performance. Say everybody, for argument's sake, everybody comes back fit from the international break. Do you start exactly the same team that did so well at Anfield, or do you say this is going to be a different kind of game? To be fair, I don't think Southampton will come and sit. They didn't when they went to Manchester City, so there's no reason to expect they will. They were 2-1 up at Man City with however many minutes it was to go. So, I think they will come and try and play. But do you start with exactly the same team that did so well at Anfield, or like Harvey from Camberley was saying, do you start to mix and perhaps give Gervinho a game? Do you play someone else wide right in place of Oxlade-Chamberlain? Just be interested if everybody comes back, be a first, comes back fit from the international break. What's your starting lineup against Southampton here at the home of football on Saturday? 0207 607 3200 will get you through. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet your messages. We are at Arsenal. The hashtag is fansforum. Email from Neville House, who says, how will Arsene keep Walcott with so many players who can play in the position he normally takes. I'm not sure how many there are who play in the position. If we say that Theo plays wide right, yes, you can play Gervinho there, although obviously we've already spoken about Gervinho's natural position being wide left rather than wide right. Plays wide left for Côte d'Ivoire and has played wide left throughout for Arsenal. Yes, you can play, you start thinking that obviously Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain played wide right and did a good job at Anfield.
Possibly Riziki, more of a floating player, isn't he? But
yeah, or you can play Cazorla there.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Walcott has always talked about, and Arsenal has always talked about, hasn't he, about moving him more to a central striker, using that pace to beat, to beat the last man. But I think when Theo gets it right, I think he's one of the most exciting players that you've got in the league. That pace he has to beat the man and delivering the final ball, which has improved a lot. It has improved a lot recently.
Yeah, and so it's the defensive side of his game, particularly when he's got Bakary Sagna behind him.
Yeah, and Bakary could be in the equation again quite soon. So it's it's an interesting thing. When obviously there's the debate about how much the contract issue is being behind is nonsense.
And what's your reading of that?
Starting. I don't think so. I just think probably tactically. Some people said maybe it was giving him a message that he's on the bench, but I think Theo knows that he's not guaranteed a first team place, and I think there are very few players apart from maybe the one who departed would be guaranteed that, and I don't think you can have that, really, can you? I mean, isn't that what it's all about? Having competition for places, keeping guys on their toes, because as you said, if you get everybody back fit, who is your starting 11? You're starting to, think, oh well, I'll pick him, and then all of a sudden you say, well, I've left, maybe I've left Mertesacker out, or no, Sanya's got to come in, or maybe Ramsey's fit now, and what do you do up front? So it's a good, for once, it's a good problem for the manager to have.
Let's speak to Emmanuel. He's in Wisconsin. Emmanuel, that's Wisconsin, USA, by the way. Emmanuel, you're very welcome to the home of football.
Thank you, Tom. It's a new season. It's been a crazy summer, but I'm excited to be contributing to the show this season.
No, it's good to have you with us. Not quite as crazy as the summer before, Emmanuel.
Absolutely. I just wanted to talk about the game against Southampton.
Yes.
I think we should be expecting a very open attacking game because they play the football the way we want to play the football. So it should be a test of our resilience and our first real test this season. I must say, my only problem is with the dealings for the summer, we don't have a proven Premiership proven striker. Giroud is a good striker, but he's not quite well up to it, and it makes me wonder what the case is with Shamak. I noticed he hasn't been on the bench for the last games. If he could look into it and let the fans know what the case is with Shamak, that would be awesome.
I think you'll find that Shamak will be on the bench come Saturday. I think he will be back involved in first-team squads. I think there were reasons why he wasn't earlier on, that there was possibility perhaps of him going out on loan somewhere. But I think, Giroud, for all that he hasn't scored goals yet, I thought he was fantastic at Stoke. Absolutely fantastic. And I thought, was just short a goal really at Anfield. I think he's got mobility, he can fight a centre-half, he's got great, he can link play up. I really like the fella, and I just have a feeling that goals will come, Jim.
I think so, and I would go at the weekend on Saturday. I'd go with your Fab Four if they're all if you're all fit. Let's have Gervinho one wing, Walcott down the other, stick Podolski and Giroud down the middle, and let's have Arteta and Cazorla, and let's have at them, because Southampton, you knock them over in the first 20 minutes, get yourself a couple of goals ahead. Are they going to be coming back from that?
It'll be exciting, but that's one starting lineup that's not going to happen, Jim Van White, and well you know it. Emmanuel, thanks for the call. Good to have you with us again. Maxwell is in North London. Maxwell, welcome to the home of football.
All right, mate.
Yeah, not bad. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good.
Up the Arsenal. What you got for us?
I just want to talk about Cazorla, mate.
Talk to me about him.
I think he's brilliant. I think he's, you know what, I think he's the best player in that position since Fabregas, and he's the kind of player we missed since Fabregas. We missed him last season. We didn't really have that creativity in front of the midfield and just behind the striker, behind Van Persie, who's now gone.
Yeah.
You know, my only problem is when Wilshere comes back, would he play on the wing? And I think that's a waste of his creativity.
Yeah. What, for a waste of Cazorla's creativity?
Yeah, Cazorla's creativity, definitely.
It's a really interesting one, Maxwell, because I've been wondering myself whether I don't know if you saw, but he played for Spain the other night, 4-0 win, scored the opening goal, playing from wide. He was the right-hand side of a three, wasn't he? Had a great game, scored the first goal. He can definitely play that. I mean, obviously, Jack Wilshere is unavailable at the moment. Maxwell, you know, when you've been out as long as Jack has, even if he was fit in a month's time, you know it would be another 2 months, 3 months before we saw the best of Jack. So I'm not sure that's going to be an issue for a while. And the thing about Jack is, obviously, he could arguably play any of the three. He could do a job like Mikel Arteta's doing at the moment. He could do a job like Abu Diaby's doing at the moment, although he probably wouldn't get up and down in the way that Diaby can. Or he could play in the hole like Cazorla does at the moment. You know, if you look at the evidence of the game at Anfield, you can't pick Cazorla anywhere other than where he played at Anfield, can you?
No, I think we finally got that balance in the midfield that we've been looking for a long time.
Yeah.
If we keep Diaby fit, keep Cazorla fit, and Arteta, who's started the season brilliant, who's changed his position dramatically since last season. Sitting back. I think we didn't need to replace Song. We've got Arteta who can sit back. We've now got Diaby who can sit back. My only problem is, did we need to replace Van Persie now that we've got rid of him, Bentner and Park? Shamak and Giroud are the only, possibly Podolski. But that's a lot of goals that we've lost.
Yeah. No, that is definitely, you do feel we're potentially a little bit light at centre forward, because you know, Podolski, absolutely clearly, you know, whether it's been playing for Cologne, playing for the national team, or playing for Arsenal so far, wide left is his position, isn't it?
Is that then maybe though why he's looking with Theo Walcott? Is Theo Walcott the other option? Is this now the time?
Well, we talked about
that we push that you could push him in, and then that gives you another central striker.
Yeah, but then you're playing two in midfield, and at the moment that's not happening.
And when you have Wilshere available, and then you've got Cazorla as well to play in there, and Diaby. So it is very much a case of juggling who is available. Yeah. But it's going to be, the issue is going to come when you've got all these players fit. I mean, we're not at that point at the moment.
We're not at that point in the moment. No. At the moment, I'm not holding my breath for us ever being at that point. I think they'll always, and it's why you need the cover and the competition, is because, when do we ever have when does anybody these days have a fully fit squad? Certainly Arsenal never seem to have a fully fit squad, so I can't see it being an issue for the time being. But what you say about Podolski and Walcott, I know there's all this talk about Walcott playing down the middle. We talked about it on last week's show. Lucas Podolski has 100 caps for his country and a goal every 2 games, playing wide on the left. Yeah. And you look at the qualities in his game, finishing, hasn't got the out-and-out pace that Theo's got, but he's got a fantastic engine, and he looks after his fullback. He was brilliant, the way he supported Gibbs at Anfield, both tracking back Johnson, but also always being available for Kieran to pass to. He's always looking to make an angle. And those two things, the defensive side of his game and working with the fullback, are definitely things that, obviously, Lucas Podolski is an experienced international player, and Theo is still coming onto his game. He will be, you hope he will be where Podolski is now in 2 or 3 years' time. And I just don't see any problem for Theo playing exactly where he's been playing for Arsenal, and I don't see any problem with him scoring a goal every other game from that position. So we'll see. Thanks very much indeed for the call, Maxwell. Email from Drew, who says, looking at the upcoming fixtures, you can email us any time, by the way, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk. Looking at the upcoming fixtures, says Drew, I think the next 4 games are going to be very important for the morale of the players, the club and its supporters. We will face 2 teams that on paper you would think we should get a result against in Southampton and West Ham, but we'll also test ourselves against the likes of City and Chelsea. In your opinion, what would be an acceptable points return from those 4 games? Fantastic email. I note, though, Drew, that you don't bother putting down your estimation of what would be an acceptable points return. What do we think? I mean, those are the games, you know, games against the top, games against the teams that everybody's expecting you to beat. Those are the ones, aren't they? And what do you think, Jim? 12 is acceptable.
Well, I mean, you know, you got to look. I know we said, you know, that's
a good answer, by the way, isn't it? That is a good answer.
If you want to finish top of the league, the easiest way to do that is to just beat every team, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think home form this season has got to be key for Arsenal. There are far too many points, you know, dropped at home. I know that the first game, you know, was disappointing, but you know, you can kind of make, you know, sort of an exception for that. In another. If a point at Stoke normally under different circumstances later in the season would probably be seen as a good result, add with the clean sheet and a fantastic, you know, result at Liverpool. But I mean, Arsenal have to really get maximum points against West Ham and against, you know, Southampton. And there's no reason why, you know, they shouldn't be able to go toe to toe with, you know, with Chelsea and Manchester City. I don't see any reason why, you know, why from that they shouldn't come out of those 2 games, you know, unbeaten. But they will be a test because obviously Chelsea have improved a lot, you know, this season. They've looked a lot sharper. Well, certainly
improved going forward,
certainly domestically. But I mean, as we saw in the European tie, you know, there's still sort of question marks at the back, which hopefully, you know, Arsenal's new attack can maybe exploit. But obviously the acid test will come against, you know, City and, you know, how they can, you know, perform there. But you know, if Arsenal are going to be challenging, you know, for the, you know, to be in the mix, which is what the manager feels they can be, then, you know, these are the games where they've got to really get the positive results.
Drew, I'm with Jim. 12 points, please. Thank you very much. Actually, I'll settle for the old 1 game at a time business. Let's start with 3 against Southampton on Saturday. Ash is in Colindale. Ash, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Yeah, hi Tom. Yeah, I'm just a bit nervous about the Southampton game. Because,
thanks a lot.
no, but just because I think, you know, like you guys have been talking about it, is these are the games that, you know, we've got to be winning. Like the Sunderland game, for example, you know, we should have won that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, we drew, but, you know, international break, 2 weeks off, we've got the momentum. I'm just a bit nervous in terms of, you know, I don't think Arsenal's going to field the strongest team. I think he'll give a couple of people a rest, thinking that we should beat Southampton.
Yeah.
Where you guys have mentioned it, that we should just, you know, first half an hour, 20 minutes, really go for the juggler, so to speak, and go for it. There are no easy games, but, you know, who do you think our game-changing players are if the going gets tough? You know, I just wanted your opinion on that.
Well, if we started with the team that played at Anfield, and I think you're absolutely right. I think any idea, all right, if players come back from international duty and they have not got a game in their legs on Saturday, well, then you have to change. But otherwise, for me, a team that played so well, as Jim said earlier, as a group, you have to start them against Southampton. So if that's your ideal start, then I think, you know, I looked at the bench at Anfield, and I think there are players who can come on and make a huge difference. Gervinho can come on and make a huge difference. Theo Walcott can come on and make a huge difference. Aaron Ramsey is very different to any of our other midfield players. He can come on and make a difference. Aaron Ramsey will come on and get you a goal, by the way. So I think we have got players on the bench who can make a difference. I just think I think it's all to do with Saturday, is all about mentality. Obviously it's to do with players coming back fit. But if you go into that game, you know, Southampton have shown that they are, 1, they will come and play. 2, they carry a threat, not least when Ricky Lambert's playing. But that they have issues at the back. You know, it's not the greatest back four ever invented, although Nathaniel Clyne, I think, will turn out to be a very special player, the lad they signed from Crystal Palace. But, you know, it is to do with attitude.
I think, you know, because they didn't get the result against Manchester United, which arguably the performance, you know, deserved.
Say the same thing about the game at Man City.
I think you might start to see a different Southampton now. You know, they might have in the mindset, well, if we're going to go to Arsenal, we don't want to be on, you know, taking the game to them. We then risk ourselves being opened up. Let's maybe try and, you know, contain it, frustrate them like, you know, some of the other promoted sides have, you know, have done.
Yeah, but recently they haven't, and we've come unstuck. You remember the game like Blackpool?
Yeah.
Which was this stage of the season 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago.
About 7-0 at one time, wasn't there a big score?
I'm not thinking of Blackpool. Who am I thinking of? Team that came newly, Hull City, who came here and won 3-2. Yeah,
I didn't want to mention the Norwich result, but you know I won't do.
No, don't talk. No, because there's a door there that opens very quickly. And what you mean? Oh, you mean the Norwich result at Carrow Road?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's the one where Van Persie.
But actually, I'm with you, mate. I think it's right to have that note of caution. It's right. You know, you can't.
They mustn't go into the game thinking this is only Southampton.
Yeah,
we can turn them over. But on the flip side of that, if Arsenal are going to be consistent at the top level, then it's the games against Southampton that they cannot afford to slip up, because then when you go to Manchester City and places like that, if then you know you come away with a draw, it's not so costly, is it? Because you're picking up the points against the other teams. If you examine, you know, when Manchester United, when they made that run, they were nicking off, you know, taking up the points off Blackburn and things, and then that kind of negated the results when they maybe didn't go so well against the nearest rivals. So.
Absolutely. Ash, thanks very much indeed for the call. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to the home of football this and every Monday night. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal, and the hashtag for your messages is Arsenal Live. Camran is in Los Angeles, I believe. Camran, welcome to the home of football.
Thank you, guys. Great show.
Did I get the pronunciation of the name right there?
Yeah, just Cameron is fine. Yep,
Cameron,
no
very good, very good.
Yeah, great show, guys. Just firstly want to say thank you, Mr. Steve Bold. And as far as starting lineup goes, I think we should keep the starting lineup that we've got, that we had against Liverpool. I think that team is clicking very well. And I think, like it was mentioned before, Podolski and Oxlade-Chamberlain both putting a shift in on the wing. Track back, both of them, and I think that's the issue with Walcott. I'm not sure if he's that kind of player that will necessarily track back. He doesn't really have that defensive mind. Not saying he won't put a shift in, but as far as it goes, I'm not too convinced on him on the right wing, on the right mid, or I'm not too sure about that position. I would like to see him as a centre forward, and I think that's possibly the issue with the contract, is that he does want to be a centre forward, and I think I think that Wenger should try that, just like he did with Thierry Henry when Thierry Henry seen that he was out of position and told them, well, we all know what happened next. So I think that's an issue there, and I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do we think, Jim? Well, could you play Theo down the middle on his own? You couldn't, could you? Or could you? I mean, yes, playing off Giroud or off.
I think it maybe it depends on on the support, what he's got, what he's got coming behind him. I mean, it as you said, it's never really going to be a 4-4, 4-4-2. Maybe looking more fluid, with those. With the three guys, but I think it just depends on where you're going to see Theo, fitting into that. As you said, he does what he does in a certain team, but can that be balanced if you're going to be playing Podolski and Giroud, as it looks like, is going to be, is going to be the focal point of those attacking. I mean, I would like to see. I'm always been a big fan of your two quick, pacey, men down and wide. So I would have then Gervinho, and Theo hogging the chalk and putting the balls into the middle for Podolski, for Giroud. But it seems the manager's favouring putting Podolski in that position. And as you said, he does give you something different. He might not be a traditional winger, but what he's bringing to the team at the moment, do you risk just taking that out, and then maybe you're losing something from.
No, but he brings it.
Diaby's
Yeah, I mean,
game.
Podolski will bring you what Freddie Ljungberg brought you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He will play out there and he will score you 15 goals a season, and he will absolutely work his backside off for the team. And I don't see why.
He's not that main, the main. I know. The main point of the attack.
Well, I just don't see how Theo can be that. It just seems to me that where he's playing is the right place for him to. Why do you want to be a striker? You want to be a striker to score goals. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason why Theo can't score 15 goals from wide right if he's playing every week. Whether he will
need someone to work off. If it was the second striker, as it were, playing alongside someone, that would probably work. But I think as the top of the pyramid, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not so sure that would be.
Cameron, I do think that the defensive side of his game has improved at no end, Theo, over the last 3 or 4 years, though, I have to say, and particularly I think when he's playing in front of Bakary Sagna, it's increasingly not a problem. I think he does, because I think with Theo, it's not so much that he's not willing, it's more just learning that side of the game. He's a fella who, has always been asked to go forward, to look forward, to run in behind, to be, so I'm not sure that it's been a natural part of his game. I think, someone like Bakary Sagna will talk the fella through, and I always think that looks secure enough when Sagna's the fullback, whereas obviously with Carl Jenkins it's slightly different. It's a different situation, a relatively inexperienced right back playing behind Theo, and it's a different situation, but I do think that side of Theo's game has come on leaps and bounds. Cameron, thanks very much indeed for the call. Great to hear from you. Wherever you want to call from, 0207 607 3200 will get you through. Now, as promised, I've got a competition prize for you this week, courtesy of our friends at Arsenal Community. The community department have sent this over. This is Bakary Sagna's training top from last season. We will get it signed for you. It can be yours. It can be won. Right here, right now, this evening. All you've got to do is answer this question. Bakary Sagna, perhaps not known as a goal scorer, but which of us will forget the goal he scored against the old enemy last season? What I want to know is Bakary Sagna scored his first goal for Arsenal against which team? So who was Bakary Sagna's first goal for Arsenal scored against? If you know the answer, I need your name, need your address, obviously, so we can get Bakary's back's training top off to you, and of course we need the right answer, so name, address and right answer to our dedicated email address for competition entries, which is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. That's fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. So to win Back's training top from last year, we'll get it autographed for you. You just need to tell us who Bakary Sagna's first goal for Arsenal was scored against. Good luck with that. In the meantime, Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association and myself are here with you on the Fans Forum. Anything you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal that do for us, we are here to get you on air to the Arsenal speaking world, despite the fact that we didn't have 90 minutes this weekend. We are the 90 minutes after the 90 minutes. Certainly we've spent plenty of time looking forward to the next 90 minutes at home to Southampton on Saturday. But whatever you want to talk about, we're here and ready to go. 0207 607 3200 gets you through. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal, and your messages need the hashtag Fans Forum. Tweets from, let me see, Alex49 says, left side, always the left side. Him and Gibbs will become a force if they keep it up that way. I'm assuming that he's talking about Lucas Podolski there. But he may be talking about Gervinho, either way. Joe Woolen says there's an inside forward on the left side, of course. Hang about. Now, we're talking about Gervinho here. Okay, I'm just getting the drift on what these tweets relate to exactly. Okay, Afzal says, I'd keep Podolski on the left for Arsenal just as he plays for Germany. Flex2Key says Podolski should be given a free pass to operate anywhere on the front three, as he is lethal with both feet and highly mobile. Mark Blundall says, I'd like to see Podolski used as a second striker, thus giving room for two fast-paced wingers. You're reading from Jim Van Wyk's hymn book there. But only in games we'll dominate. And that is absolutely key. That we've talked about it a couple of times this season. You know, you think back to the goalless games at home to Sunderland and then away to Stoke, and just wonder if two in midfield and, you know, going to something that looks more like an old school 4-4-2, whether that might be the way to deal with teams that are going to come, whether it's come to the Emirates and park the bus, as Sunderland did first game of the season, or indeed go away to places like Stoke and they play like the away team, you know, just putting 10 or 11 men behind the ball and hoping for the best. Maybe a change of shape is the answer. Whether that's something that's in the manager's thoughts, we'll find out, and it might be the kind of thing that will work as a change on 60 minutes, 70 minutes, but we shall see. Mark is in Hackney. Mark, welcome to the home of football.
Evening, gent.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's lovely to be an Arsenal fan right now.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? Look, one win and we're always happy days all round. But it does just feel, the club just feels more stable than it did last season.
Very much so. Yeah, the point I wanted to make was, I go to my barber shop, you know, there's Man United supporters, Chelsea supporters, whatever.
Yeah.
The Tottenham fans ain't been in yet for some reason.
No, it might be a while, yeah.
Yeah, it might be a little while.
Here's hoping.
And they're always saying stuff like, you know, Arsenal's a selling club, Arsenal's a selling club. Arsenal have never sold anybody that didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
That's the difference. No one's ever come out afterwards saying, oh, I never really wanted to leave Arsenal, they sold me.
Yeah.
That's not a selling club.
Yeah.
My other point I wanted to make is, like Arsene Wenger, people always want to question him. Look at Diaby, look at the patience he's had with Diaby.
Yeah.
Now we can't do without Diaby.
Absolutely. Hey, Mark, never mind the patience we had with Diaby. Think about the patience he had with Robin Van Persie.
Yeah, exactly. That as well. When he was injured, he couldn't sign the contract fast enough.
Yeah, tell us about it.
You know, that's the other thing. It doesn't seem to work both ways sometimes when it comes to Arsenal players.
Yeah.
Like, we make them into the people they are. And then when it's time to pay back the loyalty, they seem to say, okay, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a weird one, and it sticks in the throat, obviously, and there is that, and they always come up with the same thing about, you know, wanting to go elsewhere to win trophies, and you think, well, why haven't we won trophies when you were here? Actually, that was your fault, not everybody else's, so get a life, you know. But it is you understand what they mean when they say Arsenal's a selling club, but certainly it's not necessarily a club that wants to sell.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was talking to a couple of the lads on security on my way into the home of football tonight, and we were talking about, sorry Mark, I don't know how old you are, but forgive it, back in the late 70s, when Arsenal, you just felt at a side that, you know, we beat Manchester United in the cup final under Terry Neal, and you just thought we might just be, and then over the course of a summer, Liam Brady left the club, Frank Stapleton left the club, in very different circumstances. Liam Brady wanted to go and play in Italy, and I think was waved off with all good wishes. Frank Stapleton went to Manchester United for reasons rather more like most of the players leave Arsenal for now. But, you know, it's the kind of difference between a Cesc Fabregas, if you like, and a Samir Nasri. Very different reasons for leaving a football club. But these things happen at football clubs, and happened back then, and they're happening now. But you do start to get a little bit wearing, doesn't it, that you're having to kind of fill the gaps every summer before you can move on. I think the gaps have been filled brilliantly this summer, by the way. But you feel like, well, what if those people had stayed put, and we were adding to, rather than having to fill in the gaps and then move forward again?
Yeah, I mean, you can understand that kind of. I mean, the manager would always kind of say, you know, what is a champion? You know, isn't it staying and forcing the team on, to win something? We go back and we read the interview Robin Van Persie gave before the Carling, before that Carling Cup final against Birmingham, and he said, go anywhere else, it's not going to mean as much to me winning trophies, because this is my club here. These guys grew up here, and there is a sense of feeling that what these guys could have all achieved, if they stay, and moving somewhere else is no guarantee of success. No,
and also it's the difference between making history and piggybacking someone else's.
Exactly. I mean, with all due respect to the guys who went to Manchester City, we know why they went, to Manchester City. They went to Manchester City for the money, and people can look at that whatever way they want, but these guys are not in a position where they really need, in the current climate, they really need that amount, of money. And surely there's got to be a little bit about it of, wanting to say to everyone, well, you know what, this is my club, this is where I'm staying, this is what we're going to produce. And as you said, all those guys, together, you're then adding to it. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get them in the squad, would you? If you'd have bought those 3 this summer, added to what you had a couple of summers ago, where would they go? I mean, you could stick an Arsenal B team out there and probably finish in the top 3, wouldn't you?
No, absolutely. Davina's in Herefordshire, Davina?
Yeah, that's right.
Whereabouts?
In a place called Webley.
Webley.
Yeah.
I should know Webley. Not far from Ross-on-Wye, is it?
Well, it's a while away. It's a little village.
Very good. You're very welcome to the home of football. Glad you've got phones down there anyway, so we can hear from you.
I'm going to the game on Saturday, and I was at the game, the Sunderland game.
Yeah.
Diaby was brilliant, but they've written now that he's injured.
So I heard this rumour that he's got...
And they reckon it's not just a rumour. They reckon, he's got this bad knock and he's not going to play him. And you kind of think it's always one step forward and then 100 back with him, because they'll say it'll be 10 days and it's 10 weeks later.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel that he's persevered with him, which is great, but because he hasn't gone out and bought anyone else, if it is 10 weeks, it just feels like Arsenal are still 2 or 3 players short.
Yeah.
Maybe doing, right up there, not going for someone like Huntelaar or Llorente or someone like that really would put them, in touching distance. And this way, you kind of think if he is injured, and he's such a great player, he took Liverpool apart.
Yeah.
Again, I think they might ask me for a run around soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did hear that, he wasn't going to play in France's second game this week because he'd taken a knock, or that was the rumour going round, and whether that will keep him out of the game on Saturday, I guess we'll find out in the next day or two, Davina, won't we? But, yeah, it actually doesn't make any difference to the point you're making, which is, how frustrating is it when you see, make no mistake, he looked an absolute world beater last Sunday at Anfield. An absolute world beater. He looked like the player we all dreamt he might be when he first broke into the team when he was 17 years old. He just looked the part. And if it's another setback, you just think, well, obviously it's terrible for him, but it's terrible for us and all.
Well, I'm glad that the subject was brought up, because I think these last couple of weeks you've seen really what Abu Diaby is all about, and what he can bring. And I mean the similarity with Patrick Vieira was brought up a few times. He did an interview with one of the French magazines, which was on the Arsenal website. It made really good reading. He was determined, and he said, I'm going to make up. This is my revenge on the time that's been taken away from me. And it was quite a revealing interview as to about how he got him down, and he was at a point he said, well, look, I'm either going to get completely down about it, or I'm going to say, right, I'm going to be doing everything right, taking care of myself, pre-season. So I think we need to just maybe wait a little bit and see what happens with this, with the French, with the French game in tomorrow. I mean, there might not be anything untowards in it any more than there was with Thomas Vermaelen when he had strapping around his ankle, didn't he? And everyone was thinking, oh God, he's gone again. But let's just try and be positive for the moment, because a fit Abu Diaby, in that squad, picking the ball up, looking the right way all the time, turning, going. I mean, that you say that run when he absolutely.
Oh, when he laid in Oliver Giroud,
I mean, that's what he's all about. Arsene Wenger knows that. He knows what he can do when he's fully fit. And he said himself, when I get the ball, I'm not going to be going backwards. All I want to be doing is going, towards goal and, turning and passing it and laying it on. So I think he could be, a real breakthrough. This season you could see what this guy is all about.
He's got to stay fit, and you can understand Davina being fretting about it. Davina, safe trip up to the home of football Saturday.
Let's not worry yet.
No, fingers crossed. You'll see Abu Diaby in the starting lineup, but we'll find out, I'm sure, over the course of the next day or two. Tino, by the way, thanks for the call, Davina. Tino is in Leicester. Tino, welcome to the home of football. How are you?
Hello, Tom.
Yeah, what you got for us? You've not got more news on Abu Diaby and injuries, have you? I don't know if I can take any of that. Go on.
No, well, I'm just saying, it shows thanks to respect to Arsene Wenger, who's been patient with Abu Diaby. But then I've also called to talk about the current transfer policy.
Yeah.
Well, I've noticed that, clubs in Spain, Portugal and stuff, they've got big transfer clauses on their players
Yeah.
Like, for example, Hulk, who went to Russia just now, and Aguero went to Man City. I was wondering, what's the current situation with Arsenal like that? Because we don't tie them to big contracts like that with big clauses on them.
Yeah, you mean these kind of buyout clauses? I don't know if I don't know if there's anybody in. There are people in English football. I mean, there are people in English football, aren't there, with those kind of buyout clauses attached. Although you're right, Tino, everybody and his brother seems to have one of them attached. Speaking, I'm not quite sure how much difference it makes to the eventual price of a player. But
I mean, I'm not so sure whether there's any of that within the Arsenal squad, but as you say, it does exist in other places. I just think any Arsenal have in their own mind an evaluation of a player who they decided want to sell, because obviously with Van Persie there was a figure they had in their mind, and we're led to believe that if that wasn't met, they were going to say, well, okay, that's it. You're not going to be going anywhere. And I think the same with Song as well. I think if that offer had not been there from Barcelona, he would have still been, still been in the squad there now. So I don't think whether there's a specific buyout price or not, but obviously it's clear that Arsenal have their own valuation of any player if it suits them. Yeah. That they're going to, they're going to allow him to.
I mean, what do you think, Tino? Are you still there, Tino?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Obviously, there has been talk of making sure that nobody goes into the second year before their contract's up. We seem to have approached the business of renewing contracts a year before players' contracts run out, and I think now perhaps there's a move towards making that 2 years before. But when push comes to shove, if a player's after leaving, and, Alex Song being a case in point. In fact, in many ways, Robin Van Persie being a case in point, because I think we probably would have sold him for less to one or two other clubs.
The team abroad.
Do you know what I mean? But once players get it in their heads, then I'm not sure what you can do to make sure you get the best possible price.
Yeah, and also I wanted to raise a point that with the current squad, I believe personally that because we've not got, a sole player that is built around, for example, over the past years, we had our team built around Fabregas, and then we had it built around Van Persie. Yeah. At the moment, if you look at it's a team, it's just one team. There's no individual player. Yeah. So I believe that we could go far this season, because anyone who comes in will know their place in the team. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a really, really. I mean, we talked about it a bit on last week's show. That was the thing at Anfield. That was a real team performance, and you couldn't say, because you're absolutely right. The team over the last, was set up for Van Persie last year. Absolutely set up for him. Likewise, set up for Cesc Fabregas. And really, since we've been at the Emirates, we've been in that situation, because of course the one player who didn't come with us to the Emirates was Dennis Bergkamp, and it was fine having a Thierry Henry or a Freddie Ljungberg or a Robert Pires or a Sylvain Wiltord, whoever it was, whoever they were, didn't matter how big they were, we all knew they weren't the best player at the football club. Dennis is the best player at the football club, but he existed to make other people look good. So it was a team in a way that, and that was arguably the most satisfying thing last Sunday, was it really looked like a team, and potentially because it was like that, it looked like there was danger could come from anywhere. You had that Diaby run setting up the chance for Giroud, and then you had 2 goals laid on by the combination of Podolski and Cazorla. So there were good things about what happened at Anfield.
Yeah, I mean it's a very effective unit at the moment. When it's working right. I mean, defensively you can't argue with with the clean sheets, and as well with Manoni coming in, and he didn't have that much to do, did he? But he did what he needed to do very well, which I was after Tom Hands up and say I was surprised at that he fitted in very well like that, and obviously Koscielny, when he's fully fit, it's almost like as the point was made that whoever comes in, it's just so interchangeable, isn't it? Whether it's Jenkinson in there or Sanya comes in, it's that effective, fluid unit, and I think that's going to be the key for Arsenal this season, rather than any one individual player. But obviously, you still need, you've lost Van Persie now, so you've lost that can't guarantee the goals, but you've lost that goal, that real goal threat. But it seems that now the options are there and they can come from anywhere. As you said, when a defender's coming back, he's thinking, right, well, Podolski got the ball, hang on a second, we've got Carthage coming in, got Walcott there, I've got Diaby running through the middle. It's where it's where it's going to come from.
Absolutely. Actually, you're wrong with the fella. You can guarantee goals. What you can't guarantee is fitness. After one season in 7 or whatever it was.
Although he should have had more than he did against Southampton, didn't he?
Yeah, but still. How weird was that? How really, really uncomfortable was that to look at? Because you just think, something really wrong's happened there. Really wrong. But there we are. Tino, thanks very much indeed for your call. Papis is in Birmingham. Papis, great to hear from you. Welcome to the home of football.
Good evening, gents.
Good evening.
I've just got 2 points here, and it's going to be a little rant.
Go on. Rant away.
First of all, I'm sick and tired of people going around the country, phoning TV station and radio station, saying Stan Kroenke is Arsenal owner. How can you be an Arsenal fan without not knowing Stan Kroenke is just a shareholder like everyone else?
He's a majority shareholder. Absolutely.
He's a majority shareholder. But to people to say, where's Stan Kroenke? Why he's not spending? It's not his club. When people say his club, it's not his club. And my second point is Jamie Redknapp saying Arsene Wenger is a nutcase, or is something, what he's suggesting. I remember 2 years ago, Jamie Redknapp sat on the Sky News Centre and said Arsenal should sell Robin Van Persie. I was at home that day. I was listening to him, and now he's saying Arsene Wenger should get somebody to replace Robin Van Persie. Is he calling Arsene Wenger a nutter or something? I mean, that is just annoying. Are they there to analyze the games, or they're just, just to be biased? I just don't understand that, and that's just annoying. So Jamie Redknapp suggests Arsene Wenger is a nutcase.
Yeah,
Papis, that's just annoying.
No, fantastic round on both counts. Let's leave the second one, because it's like, well, we could all go mad on that, and let's just turn the sound down, because nobody needs to tell you what you're watching when you're watching the Arsenal. We know better than anybody, obviously, so fair play on that. But the other thing, that distinction between, because Papis, you're absolutely right. This whole thing about, who knows? At some point in the future, who knows? This club may be owned outright by somebody in the way that Manchester City are owned outright by Sheikh Mansour and his family, in the way that Chelsea are owned outright, in the way that Aston Villa are owned outright. But at the moment, that is not the situation at Arsenal. And so, Papis, I'm like you. I get very annoyed when people say Stan Kroenke is the owner of Arsenal, because what it does is it misunderstands the model, the way that Arsenal conduct their business. Yes, Stan Kroenke is a majority shareholder. Yes, he of course will have a huge say as a majority shareholder. He will have a huge say in how this club is run. But there is a fundamental difference between that situation and outright ownership, where a club is taken, there are no other shareholders, where, you don't have an annual general meeting, you don't have published accounts in the same way. It's a very different situation. And I'm with Papis, it does annoy me, because it's like if you say, oh, Stan Kroenke owns Arsenal in the way that other clubs are owned, it's a willful or ignorant misunderstanding of what makes Arsenal different from everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the wealthiest guys, out there, but there's this argument that he's just going to simply bankroll the club and, pump millions of pounds in. It's just not going to happen. He's made that very clear. He's very happy with the way things are being run, with the current structure, the self-sustaining policy. I think what will be interesting over the next few seasons is to see how the relationship between the club and Usmanov's group develops, because obviously he has a significant shareholding as well. I think now he's just above the 30% threshold. So the second the second largest group, and he maybe has a different sort of view on things. So I think that will be an interesting dynamic, how that plays out, because obviously he's not involved in in the board, and it'll be interesting to see whether any olive branch are extended out that way. But as you said, the feeling within Arsenal, it's unique in the way it's run and the way they're trying to go and trying to stay, within the spirit of the FF. P and everything like that. But then on the outside, what Arsenal are trying to compete against is by people who just don't play by the rules.
It's the same willful misunderstanding. It's the same willful misunderstanding. I don't want to kind of pick up the rant where Papis left off, but I feel like me and Papis could have a good go together, me and him. It's that same kind of misunderstanding where so our chairman last week was quoted as saying, we can't compete in the transfer market in the sense that we can't go out and spend £50 million on one player. That's assuming that we would want to, by the way, given the record of £50 million. But it's saying, and that is reported as our chairman saying we can't compete. Now, whether that is willful misunderstanding or ignorant misunderstanding, I don't know. But either way, it's lazy and it winds me up. Because saying we can't compete in the transfer market, i.e. by spending £50 million on a player, does not mean we're saying we can't compete. Because the whole idea of Arsenal is predicated on competing in a different way. And we're saying the way we do things, we can compete and we will compete. And it does wind me up. And it's that same kind of, like I say, whether it's laziness or whether it's just twisting things in order to get a reaction, I don't know. Either way, me and Papis both, it drives us mad. Papis, thanks for the call.
Are you always going to have that group of Arsenal fans who maybe think differently, who think, you know what, but, everyone else is doing it, so...
No, absolutely you will.
Let's just have us Manov and let's have Kroenke and spunk 300 million quid and then we'll win the Champions League.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm not criticising that as a point of view. What I'm criticising people who should know better, who should be able to tell the difference between a majority shareholder and owner. Who should be able to tell the difference between saying we can't compete in the transfer market. There's a difference between saying that and saying we can't compete in the Premier League, because the two things are not the same. If you look at it over the piece, over the last 15 years, over Arsene Wenger's entire time at Arsenal Football Club, you could have said at any point, we cannot compete in the transfer market, which is why we had to sell the likes of Nicolas Anelka. When someone comes along and says we'll give you 25 million for a player, we sell him. Be that Nicolas Anelka, be that Mark Overmars, be that whoever it is. Hasn't stopped us competing. And make no mistake, we are still competing. There are at least 89 clubs in this country who would have killed to be where we were come the end of last season after the worst start in living memory. It just, that sort of... Well, anyway, let's move right along, shall we? But Papis, fair play to you, mate, and thanks for the call. Email from Mahad. Email us anytime, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, and we will get to your emails as quickly as we can, I promise. The thing that has caught my eye with Arsenal this year is that the team shape seems to have changed a bit. What changes have you seen tactically in the team this year? How do you think this will play out over the season? Jim, let's start at the back. Let's start with the shape of the team and the approach of the team at the back. What's changed? Obviously we have a new person, two new people involved in the first team situation. Can you see the difference they've made?
I think maybe the first 20 minutes against Sunderland, I thought, well, there's not, there was a couple of moments there, wasn't there, where it didn't look, too cohesive. But I mean, after that, it has to, it's been impressive. I mean, there are times last couple of seasons where it was just absolutely shambolic all over the place. Didn't look like anybody knew what they were doing. But now everybody's playing in the way that you need to as a cohesive back four. And the manager himself, who was talking out in when he was at the coaching seminar, and he was saying, Steve Bould's input, is there, to see the way he's been working. Thomas Vermaelen has said, this is a guy who's been there, who's done it. So, we're all, using from his experience. But interestingly as well, the manager said when he was asked, well, is it back to the 1-0 to the Arsenal days? And the manager was saying, well, no, we want to use this defence to build on, but, we're still... still looking to attack, but that is an area where Arsenal have to get it, right, because you can't keep making those mistakes, which are going to cost you, dear over the rest of the season. But certainly defensively, I think has been very impressive the first few games, and also offensively as well. I mean, as you put it earlier, how well these guys are interchanging, and Podolski moving out, Cazorla moving all over the place.
Well, Giroud offers you something that we haven't had for a while, which is, you know, you've got the possibility of saying, you know, there is a fella who, when push comes to shove, if needs be, as he did brilliantly against Stoke, you can go, oh look, we need to clear our lines, you go and have a fight with the centre half for that one. Which would, you know, for all that...
He's just missing a goal, isn't he?
But for, you know, in so many other ways, I think, you know, as a leader of the line, and like I say, as someone who you can go, you know, which we haven't had for I don't know how long, you know, perhaps Marouane Chamakh was supposed to be that kind of player, but hasn't yet become it, is just to say, go and have a fight with the centre half, and we'll get up and support you as quickly as we can. And that being an option. You know, we're not going to see Arsenal play like 90 minutes like that. It might happen half a dozen times in a game, but it's another option. It's another way to break teams down.
They look better in transition, don't they? From the defence.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the defence to attack.
Look at Podolski at Anfield.
Yeah, where he picks the ball up from.
Look at his goal. Look where he picked the ball up there. Yeah, absolutely. Az is in Cardiff. Az, good to hear from you, mate. Welcome to the home of football.
Evening.
Evening.
I want to start on a positive note.
Yeah.
As I'm positive, as you know. The positive note is that our target now, we've got Liverpool on the way, so, you know, very pleased with the result. I think 7 points from our next 3 games, and I'll be happy.
Really?
I'll be very happy.
Right.
Yes. I think, that's a minimum. That's a minimum I'm looking at, basically. And I think it's a blessing in disguise that Diaby isn't fit for the match for France, because hopefully that means he should be, you know, well rested for the weekend for our game.
Fingers crossed that's how it works, and it doesn't work like, I don't know if you heard the call from Davina, as, you know, that kind of, oh, he's going to be out for 10 days, and 10 weeks later, he's still not back. You just hope that it's not going to be one of those.
I appreciate that, but as long as, you know, at least we haven't got to worry about him, you know, for 90 minutes fearing what's going to happen, because he's gone into battle. So, I guess from that sense, my point that I was going to make, I'm not going to make this evening, because I've been listening to obviously the point that I know that's rattled your cage about are we competing in the transfer market? Well, we're not competing in the transfer market, but are we competing at all? Now, you know, playing devil's advocate, I think there's a direct correlation between two. Now, I know people have sort of, you know, quoted what our chairman has said, but I don't think we are competing. Well, the thing is, what are we competing for? You know, because competing for the top 4, or to be 4th or 3rd, in my eyes, is not what we should be competing for. We're not competing for the title, and the last 7 years have proven that. And we're not competing against Chelsea, Man United, and Man City because we haven't won the trophy. So in that sense, we aren't competing, are we, at the second? From what?
Well, there's a difference between competing and winning, and you know, last season was started as a complete disaster, and bizarrely, it felt at Hawthorn's last game of the season like we'd won the league or something, which is plainly ridiculous, because how can you get that excited about finishing 3rd? Do you know what I mean? Well, as it happens, just as well we did, under the circumstances. But I would argue with you about, you see, the fact that we haven't won the league in 7 years does not mean we have not been competing for the league for 7 years. What we haven't done is be able to take it to the end. For whatever reason, weak mentality, shortage of backup in the squad, injuries at the wrong time, bad luck, whatever, you know, whatever reasons. But I would say that certainly in at least 4 of the 7 seasons we're talking about where we haven't won the league, to be honest, I think until February, March time, we have competed, and then we've come up short. And that's been... But to say that we've not competed, I think... You can't say we've not competed, that means, you know, that is proven by the fact that we haven't won. Do you get what I'm saying? There is a difference, isn't there?
No, of course there is, but obviously the reason why we haven't won the title or competed right till the end is because we're losing players, because we can't compete to keep those players the wages they want.
Yeah.
You know, now, Bakary Sani, you know, is that going to be another concern over the summer?
Yeah.
Because, again, I don't know if that's been misquoted, but but there's been so much positivity after the Anfield result. There always seems to be a little crowd somewhere or the other. But no, I just think that, I think maybe where previously we were consistently competing for the title to the end, we're not now, are we? So,
no,
that's what my point is, that we can't compete till the end, and we're not we're not winning any sort of trophy. So we're finding it harder to compete.
Yeah.
It's probably what I would say.
No,
we'll see what happens.
I love it. As is top man. Go on, Jim.
Well, no, I think that's the key point. You're finding it harder to compete, but it's because the goalposts a few years ago have absolutely, well, they've been pitched up, taken away, and packed up completely, and shipped over somewhere and stuck in the ground and had oil come out of them. I mean, that's you're just competing. You're in a completely different marketplace now for what you're able to pay players, and it's not only at Arsenal. We see it. Some of other players go to these clubs, sign on for and they don't play, do they? They don't play, and they might not even be part of the squad. They might not even get enough appearances to pick up a medal, and then they move on. They move on somewhere else. So I think Arsenal are finding it more and more difficult to last the distance, because maybe the depth of the squad, isn't. I mean, Manchester City could cope without someone like Tevez for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas Arsenal, no disrespect to if they lost the marquee, a couple of the marquee players, is the depth there, to fill that gap. So you can, as you say, when you get to February, you can then kick on and you can cope with the injuries, because that's
a very interesting one though.
You're not going to have a season without injuries to at least a couple of people, and you've got to make sure that the second and third choice in those key positions is good enough. And with Arsenal, arguably the second choice is yes, but when you start getting 3 deep and 4 deep, which sometimes you have to, is the real top.
As it's a really, I mean, it's a really
great point.
No, it is, and it's a great. It probably takes more time than we've got right now, to be perfectly honest, because what you're actually asking. You're asking to have a look at what's happened over the last 6-7 years, and things have changed. The only thing because you're right in the point you make, that we haven't been able to compete for long enough. It's not that we haven't been able to compete, it's that we haven't been able to compete over the course of 9-10 months, and that is probably the single most important is our position as regards the transfer market, although other things have played a part. Personally, I would say that his mentality has been the problem, rather than the quality of the players, or even the numbers of the players. Last season was something different, but by and large, not least because of the start we made, and then being without 4 first-class, 4 fullbacks simultaneously. It was a ridiculous situation. But before then, I don't know, and I don't know, it probably won't cheer you up particularly, but I just would ask you to think about the players we've signed this summer. So yes, players have left because we won't pay them enough money. Open question whether players who leave you because of just to go for more money, whether you want those players at your football club anyway. But look at the players we signed. We signed 3: Giroud, Podolski, Cazorla. 2 of those are established international footballers with 160 caps between them. Last summer, we signed Mertesacker and Arteta, an established international player and a Premier League hardened, proven player. I don't know what you think. We're not going to sign a player for £50 million, but we are signing a different kind of player, aren't we? Aren't we signing a different kind of player? And maybe that's Arsene Wenger recognising exactly what you're talking about there. It's not about the price tag. It's about the kind of player. That maybe you don't go and sign 19, 20-year-olds and hope for the best. You go and sign
that 50 million a little bit.
Exactly, because nobody spots them better, and certainly nobody develops them better than the fella we've got. But as always, a pleasure, mate. Really good to speak to you. Let's have some of your tweets. We are at Arsenal, and your messages need the hashtag FansForum. These tweets all about Abu Diaby. It's got me right depressed, the idea of him having got injured playing for France after scoring the other night.
We don't know that yet.
No, we don't know that. Doesn't stop me getting depressed.
It must be true.
Doesn't stop me getting depressed about it. I mean, someone I don't know would come up to me in the street and tell me about it just to make me depressed, and it'd work. At Samantha At Samantha Boffick says, if Abu stays fit, he could become the new Vieira for Arsenal. At GFunk1984 says, still early day in his road to recovery, but a lot of positives, good performances for club and country. Long may it continue. At James Patton AFC says, how do you think Diaby's place in the first 11 will be affected when Jack Wilshere returns? At Hapless Owl, Diaby finally showing the promise that brought him to the club. Could be one of our best players if he stays fit. At Sevi Be Good, our midfield has so much strength in depth. Are we the only team in England who can do a Spain and play 4-6-0 option? Yeah, Abu Diaby has been, I mean, it is absolutely kind of... I can't see any time soon us playing a 4-6-0. Had a bit of kind of hubris about it, didn't it? Had a bit of, you know, and to be fair, it was interesting that Fabregas ended up playing as the kind of the false nine for Spain at the European Championships, where of course he had a season here being given exactly that freedom. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Being the player that broke on, and so he's had the experience of playing down the middle, which of course he would never in a million years have got if he'd stayed at Barcelona.
Why didn't he play 4-0-6 then?
What, just forwards, defence and forwards?
Yeah, just, you know.
Yeah,
it works, doesn't it?
But it is true. Someone told me the other day, Abu Diaby arrived at the club the same week that Theo Walcott signed.
And he's had a terrible run with, you know, with injuries, and you know a lot of the French reporters, you know, got quite close to him, and it is just a shame because, you know, he's now at that stage of the development. He's such a powerful player, isn't he? You know, and so strong, and you know, such a positive, you know, such a positive influence on the side. And you know, it's good that you're talking about, well, where would Wilshere fit in if Diaby keeps in his, you know, form, not the other way around. Not saying, oh well.
Of the three that we're playing at the moment, you would say Diaby is the least likely to lose his place. Yeah. I'm not saying any of them would, but you know, that ability to just break up the play, turn away from trouble and break 60 yards and nobody get near him. That's not Jack's game. No. He can carry the ball, but
when what the guy's been through as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's just, I mean, you know, a lot of lesser guys would have just said, well, that's it.
Yeah, mind you, Jack's had his fair share of it last 14 months or so. Thanks very much indeed for those tweets. We are at Arsenal. You can message us. The hashtag you need is Fans Forum. Call 0207 607 3200 gets you through to the home of football. You can email fansforum@arsenal.co.uk. Suresh is in Windsor. Suresh, welcome to the home of football. Good to hear from you.
Hey, hi.
Yeah, hi.
Good evening. Hi. I just had a quick question.
Yes.
The situation that we are right now with 7 years of no trophy means that everyone in the market, even people who have not managed the club, have all the authorities to question someone like Mr. Wenger, who has an incredible history of leading football teams across the globe. So this is something that catches quickly, and it might lead into a situation where, if it continues to be, then we might have people like Tanya trying to say that they want trophies and they want money.
Yeah.
So in fact, they want money, but they say that they are leaving the club because they want trophy. I mean, this question has been asked in various formats and various discussion forums, but it's a very tricky situation that we are ourselves in.
Yeah.
And it's a pain to know someone who has not managed who has not experience of managing football clubs, question someone like Mr. Wenger because we don't have the right marks on the sheet.
Yeah. Suresh, it's a really good point. I've got to say, and I'm not kind of supporting a lot of the things that have been said over the time about our manager, but the fact that he's the best in the business doesn't mean he's not open to question and criticism. And I'm sure he, you know, Arsene Wenger would recognise that, you know, the very best stay the very best by constantly questioning themselves and asking themselves, you know, to sort of reformulate what they're doing and how they're going about what they're doing. So, and therefore, I'm sure constructive criticism doesn't go amiss. Generally speaking, there's a lot of people out there who are just looking for a headline tomorrow, and, you know, if it's if it works to have a pop at Arsene, then they'll have a pop at Arsene, and through him have a pop at Arsenal. But you know, I don't think anybody is, as it were, above criticism. It's just where, as you say, where that criticism's coming from. But I mean, it is what you're touching on. It's what Az was touching on. You know, it is absolutely key. Whether what do you do in a situation where players will go? I think in 9 times out of 10, Suresh is absolutely right. They say, I want to go and win trophies. What they mean is, I want to go and double my wages, treble my wages. So we're not talking about clubs that are willing to compete and, you know, slightly outbid you. We're talking about clubs, and a club in particular, but clubs in general, who will say, we will double, treble, or in some cases quadruple your wages if you come and play for us. What do you do? What do you do? Do you start paying 4 times the wages because they do? Or do you say, no, sorry, we have to stick with doing things the way we're doing it, and we will get there? What do you do?
Well, I think it's that belief that Arsenal will get there following this path. You know, you've been so close over the last, you know, few seasons, and we can all go over, you know, there's one time you're going for all 4 trophies. You know, it is difficult, but what can you do when you've got this kind of money being banded around? You know, these young guys. I think Van Persie.
Well, there's only one thing you can do, and that's sell the club off to the highest bidder. Well, then get them to, you know,
you then go the same way, don't you?
Well, yeah, it's
you
not
know,
my club anymore.
and then you know, you're then in the position where Arsenal are just exactly this. You know, all you're doing is effectively just, you know, spending, and you know, where is it going to stop? I mean, you know, we're at a stage in the world at the moment where this. I mean, this can't go on. And the managers, you know, talked about it. Arsenal seem to be the only. You know, the only people who are concerned about balancing the books, you know, when at home, you know, that's what we're all trying to do, and yet they're then being reproached for doing that, for saying, well, no, we're not going to break our wage structure.
It's funny that, isn't it? Because a lot of people do criticise Arsenal for that. I mean, I can understand Arsenal supporters criticising us for doing that. In the sense that, you know, and absolutely, it's our club, it's your club, and if you feel like the way to go would be, if you can't beat them, join them, then that is a way of looking at it. I completely and fundamentally disagree with that personally, but what's strange is you do get people criticising Arsenal for doing things a different way, for doing things, you know,
trying to do it the right way, if you like, trying to say, well, we make this amount of money, so therefore we're going to try and produce the, you know, goods. But I guess the question is, can you produce a side capable of lasting the distance of winning trophies, not just being close? I mean, Arsenal haven't stood still since you last won a trophy, you know, Champions League final. You know, this place we're in, you know, the moment, so the club is moving forward. But you know, what is how do you measure that? You know, do you just measure it by what is in, you know, what is in the trophy cabinet? And I think the point that was raised about saying, well, you know, people say that they, you know, they want to win trophy. It's not about that. It's because they want to just, you know, they do just want to go.
No, 9 times out of 10, it's about going up the road to double your wages.
And get more money. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Suresh, thanks very much indeed for the call. Jeremy is in Watford. Jeremy, welcome to the home of football.
Yeah, well, good to be back.
Good to have you with us.
Yeah, I just want to say, firstly, it's been all like doom and gloom at Arsenal like these last few weeks with Robin going. And but just want to say, we look so good defensively. We haven't really even at one point looked like conceding. And I think also that's mainly to the team defending as a whole. You've got Diaby. He always comes back now. If you look at Song, he didn't really do that. I mean, as good a player as Song was, he was very sloppy. And if you look at Podolski and Cazorla, and they all come back. And also, just want to say, where does Wilshere actually fit in? Because he's not better than Diaby, he's not better than Arteta, and he's not better than Cazorla. So I'm not actually sure he'll get in the team.
Well, as I say, I don't think this is something we need to bother ourselves about for 2 or 3 months at least. I mean, I think, you know, the important thing will be that when Jack does come back, he'll come back slowly and steadily. And it's great that we won't be going, oh, where's Jack Wilshere? We need Jack Wilshere back. You know, it's got to get him in, get him in, get him in. And we've seen how that's happened with other players in the past, where it just means that they just get injured again. And they're, you know, I don't know about he's not better than. He's different from all of those players. He is a different kind of player. Myself, I look at Jack and I think, well, he's got something of all of those 3 players. You know, he's got he loves a tackle. He's got the ability to retain the ball like Mikel Arteta. He's got the ability to pick a pass that Santi Cazorla's got. And although he doesn't cover ground in the same way as Abu Diaby, he can, you know, he's a man that burst 10, 15 yards rather than... And he's got something that none of them have got, which is that brilliant thing that Paul Gascoigne used to have, that ability to pick up the ball and from a standing start, over 2 or 3 yards, he just can take himself, he can get himself the room he needs to play in over the first 2 or 3 yards. And, you know, I think they're a very, very... So he's always got the room to play in. And that's a rare thing. So I ain't getting into any arguments about him being better.
No, I don't think he is. I think he brings. I think they all bring something different to the table, and it's the manager's job to get the best of them all in.
And to decide which three is the right one for the right situation
for the specific game, and then you know what an impact the other players can make. And I mean, we talked about impact, and you know you've got Arshavin who stays at the who's going to be staying now, and you know he's another impact player, isn't he? That you can bring off.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to. It's just I remember that I haven't mentioned the competition, tonight's competition for what seems like an age, and we've actually got this training top to be won, courtesy of our friends at Arsenal in the Community. It's Bakary Sagna's training top from last season. We'll get it autographed for you. You can win it this evening. The question I need you to answer is Bakary Sagna hasn't scored many for the Arsenal, but who did he score his first goal for the club against? So Bakary Sagna scored his first goal for Arsenal against which team? If you know the answer, we need your name, we need your address, and of course we need that right answer, and email it please to our dedicated email address for competition entries. That is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk, fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. In the meantime, you can ring. We'll try and fit you in. We are running out of time, but we'll try and get you on air to the Arsenal speaking world. It's myself and Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association, and of course yourselves. 0207 607 3200, the number you need. Email us fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or tweet. We are at Arsenal. Hashtag for your messages is fansforum, or you can post us on Facebook. On Podolski, a couple of messages from Facebook on Podolski. Kel Kurum says he's a left wing forward. It's clear his movement doesn't favour central play. Paul Mark Peterson says second striker or left wing. He doesn't seem to favour a central role. Dami Adesanya says I'd play him behind Giroud. I'm with the first two of those and don't see the third at all, because he is a fellow that works in straight lines for me. He's got fantastic power, fantastic. He's a direct player, and he loves scoring goals, by the way.
Play them all.
Yeah, played a lot.
Play them all, and then knock a team over 4 or 5 in the first half an hour, and then sharp shot. 5-0 to the Arsenal. There you go.
Thanks very much indeed. I do think he's, however many German managers it is who've picked him, I don't think many of them can be wrong. And he's always played to the left of the centre forward, hasn't he? And has scored a goal every 2 games at international level as a result.
You've got to play the players where they're the most...
Where they're the most effective, absolutely. And that's as long as they're playing well enough to be in the first team in the first place. And at the moment, performance at Anfield was really, really impressive. And surely he has to start games for the Arsenal. Farhan is in Malawi. Farhan, great to hear from you. Thanks for the call.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Welcome to the home of football.
Yes, I wanted to talk about actually Podolski and the team in general, about how Arsene Wenger has paired his players very well. Like we've got Podolski with Mertesacker, Germans. We've got Arteta with Santi Cazorla, Spanish. We've got the French Musketeers. We've got to look to the 2003-2004 season where we had Vieira, Robert Pires on the left. Right now we've got Gervinho, who's Ivorian but can speak French.
Yeah.
We've got Olivier Giroud, who gets along with Koulibaly with their past history. You've got Bakary Sagna with Diaby. I don't know what we can really complain. Only problem, I would want one player to be paired is Thomas Van Marlin with another Belgian player, most likely Fellaini next season for whatever that's
Tell you what, don't get me started on Fellaini. If you had asked me at any point over the last 5 years who would be my #1 transfer target, it would have been Marouane Fellaini.
Well, he's available apparently, isn't he? That's what he says after the end of this season.
We shall see. You've got to remember, this is a player that Everton paid £15 million to start with, and now look. But no, you're absolutely right, although Thomas Vermaelen perhaps is a big enough man to stand alone, and that's why he's captain. And of course, in those pairings, those relationships, you've missed out Kieran Gibbs, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Theo Walcott and Jack Wilshere to come back. So
British call that the manager was talking about the other week. Yeah,
absolutely. Farhan, great call. Thanks very much indeed, because those partnerships do make a difference.
Make a big difference, doesn't it? I mean, we saw that when the Nielsen, was brought in again, and Big George from the Park. Yeah, he's still there. So I think it does make a big difference, doesn't it? About everyone can knit together.
There's another English one, Carl Jenkinson.
Yeah.
How far can Carl Jenkinson go? Maybe we'll have to save that for another day. I just would always have a player in my team that wants to play for the Arsenal as badly as Carl Jenkinson does. Great, fair play to him. And another one who, after a dodgy first 10 or 15 minutes, had a fantastic game at Anfield. Interesting, Raheem Sterling being called into the England squad, and the right back who gave him a proper game, by the way, at Anfield, hasn't really been mentioned in dispatches. But we do have a competition winner for this signed Bakary Sagna training top from last season, courtesy of Arsenal in the community. I asked you who Bakary Sagna scored his first Arsenal goal against, and the answer was, of course, Chelsea, in rather unfortunate circumstances, I think you'll remember. Well, certainly it wasn't as part of a memorable afternoon at Stamford Bridge. Not half as memorable as the one he scored against Tottenham anyway last season. But the answer was Chelsea, and the winner is Tyrone Campbell in Uxbridge. Congratulations to you. We will get that signed, as I say, and it will be on its way to you just as soon as we've got it signed. We've got your name and address, and thanks very much. Thanks to everybody who entered the competition. Thanks to everybody for your calls, for your emails, for your tweets, and do you remember the old days? We used to take texts. Do you remember what a text is? Back in the day, but certainly, absolutely. Yes, fax us. Fax us. We should have a machine spewing out paper in the corner, shouldn't we? But hey, thanks, however you choose to get in touch with us. Thanks for getting in touch with us, because it's about getting you on air to the Arsenal-speaking world. And great to have you with us. Great to have you with us, Jim. Thanks very much indeed for joining us this evening on the Fans Forum. It is, as we were saying earlier, Southampton at home. We'll all be happy, won't we, if Abu Diaby features in that starting lineup. We'll be happy, actually, whoever features in that starting lineup, if it's another 3 points to follow on from that excellent result at Anfield last weekend. In fact, anything but 3 points really won't do us if we're serious about anything this season. See you at the Home of Football come Saturday. Hope to see you, and indeed hear you, on the Fans Forum here on Arsenal Player come next Monday night for the 90 minutes after the 90 minutes. In the meantime, you know how it goes. Come on, the Arsenal!